In this video, we're going to review the countdown start for our 2D top-down racing game. So the effect we want to have is when we start the game, we don't want to be able to move. Everybody needs to be froze up. So right now I can't move the car until the countdown reaches 0, in which case then everybody starts moving and we can start the race. So that's what we're going after. We're going to just review how we did that in class the other day. Alright, so here was our little spreadsheet that we did, our flow chart that we did, and just kind of to outline what we wanted to do. So we want to, again, freeze all the racers at the beginning. We want to show that UI timer and get that moving. We want that to click down per seconds until it gets to 0, time to start. At which point we want to unfreeze the racers, which will let the AI racers start going. And the player as well, and we want to hide the countdown text so it's not in the way of the game. So that's what we're going after. Alright, so we started by freezing up the racers. So what we need to do here is, in our AI racer, the way we're doing it this time is we're just going to disable their scripts. So if I uncheck the box there, that will make it so that the AI racer script isn't active and it won't move. So that's the job, is to take and uncheck all of those, and then we're going to do the same for the player. The player's racer controller script has all his inputs and makes him move and gets input from the keyboard and such. So if we just uncheck that, then he won't go anywhere. So we have to do that with our code. So we'll go into our game manager script, which is where we're going to put all this. And in our game manager script, the first thing we want to do here in our start function is find all the AI racers and store them in an array. Okay, so we just want to gather them all up. And the reason we're doing it this way is because we want to set this up so it can work with any number of AI racers in the game. So this will just automatically go out and find them. So we made an array called AIs, which is an array of game objects. And then in the start function, we set that equal to a game object find game objects with tag command. So what this does is it goes out and finds all the game objects in our hierarchy with this tag, with the AI tag on it. And it returns an array of these objects, which we can store in our array. So then we have all of our racers stored nicely in an array. Then what we need to do is call a function called Freeze Racers. So this is going to freeze everybody up. Okay, so Freeze Racers is right here. We'll start by freezing the player. Now this player is a variable that we made before. It's right here. And we just linked that in the inspector. So that should already be linked in. So we just said player get component. Get component allows you to get a piece of that game object. So if we go out here and look at the player, for instance, all these things in the inspector over here are components: the sprite render, the script, the rigid body. So get component says, hey, go to player and get one of these. What I want is the script, the racer controller script. Okay, so I want to get that so I can turn it off. So we have to put in here the component we want, and this, if it's a script, has to be spelled exactly the way that your file is. So up here in my racer controller tab, you can see it just capital R, capital C, racer controller, no spaces, just like here. So that will get me that script that's attached to my player, and then if I say .enabled equals false, that will actually disable that script. It will turn the little checkbox off next to the script so it won't be active. Okay? Then we're going to do the same thing for our AIs, except this time we have a multiple number of them. We don't know how many, so we're just going to loop through our AIs array. So a basic for loop. We're going to loop as long as we're not to the end of our AIs array. And then we're, again, just going to say each AI in order here. Get component. Their script is called AI Racer. See that up here in the tab. Capital A, capital I, capital R, Racer. .enabled equals false. And that will turn all them off. So when we go out here and we click on the player, for instance, and we hit play, you'll notice this racer controller script here will uncheck. See that? And it fills back in when the timer goes down. See? Same thing is going to happen on our AI racers. Alright. So that freezes up our players, our racers. so that they won't move until the clock. So now let's talk about the countdown clock. So what we need to do is have a text on our screen that's going to display that. So I've got a variable here, countdown text, which is just a UI.text. That's going to hold that message that shows the countdown going. And we're also going to need a integer variable that holds our countdown number. This is the number of seconds that we have left before the race starts. Okay. Once we set these up, we can go out here into our inspector. We'll go to our game manager object here, which has this game manager script on it. And here's countdown text. So to link this in, I just grabbed it from over here and dropped it right there. Okay, my countdown text is turned off at the moment, so there it is. Okay, up in my scene view, in my canvas, you'll see it's right here. Okay, it's just a text. So when I link that in, I was linking in the text part. I'm just going to turn that off before the game starts so that it's not visible, and then when we need it, we'll toggle it on. Alright, back to our script here then. So now that that's linked in, we've got countdown text all ready to go. Countdown number, we're just going to assign that down in our countdown text. We could do it out in the inspector as well. A couple of different ways you can do that. Anyway, so after we freeze the racers, then we're going to call a function called start race. And start race is right here. Start race will turn on that countdown text. So countdown text.enabled equals true will enable that text box. It'll show up on the screen. We'll go ahead and set the number of seconds we want to count down from. So this is an integer, so a whole number of seconds. And then to get that countdown text to work, we're going to use an invoke repeating command. So invoke repeating is just a way for us to call a function repeatedly on a time interval. So invoke repeating needs three pieces of information. It needs the function name to call, which is countdown, and that's a function I put right here. It needs a number of seconds to delay before it calls countdown the first time. In this case, I want it to be 0 seconds. I want it to call it right away. And then it needs to know what the time interval is for calling it again. So that'll be 1 second right there. So every second it's going to call the countdown function. So when it calls countdown, countdown will update our text. It'll say race starts in, however many minutes are left in our countdown, or seconds in our countdown number integer variable, and then seconds at the end. So since this starts at 3 and we call it right away, the first thing it's going to do is it's going to say race starts in 3 seconds. Then it's going to check to see if we have gotten to when we want to make this all disappear. And if we haven't, then it's going to check to see if we have reached 0, which is time to go. And then it will subtract 1 from countdown number. So the first time this runs, it's going to be a 3. 3 is not less than or equal to a -1. 3 is not equal to 0. It's not going to do any of that. It will take 1 away and countdown number will become 2. A second later, invoke repeating will call it again, and we'll go again. It'll say now the race is going to start in 2 seconds. And still not true here or true here, so it'll take 1 away. Now we're at 1. When it calls it again, we'll be at 1 second. Then 0 seconds. When it hits 0, it's time to go. So then we're going to call a function called Unfreeze Racers. Unfreeze Racers is right here. We're just basically doing the opposite of freeze racers. So here we set enable defaults. Here we're doing the same exact script, we're just setting enabled to true. So you could just copy all this, paste it in here, and change the falses to trues, and it will do the job for us. We're just enabling those scripts. Alright, then countdown will run 1 more second here. So that's at 0. It'll take 1 away and get us to a -1. And it'll call it again, and now this time it'll say, hey, this is less than or equal to a -1. We'll go ahead and turn off our text, and then we'll cancel that invoke repeating. So to cancel invoke repeating, just say cancel invoke. And that will stop it from calling countdown, and we'll be good to go. So that is how we get the countdown text, and how we freeze everybody up, and how we get the race started. And that's about it for that section. So hopefully that helps, and we'll talk to you the next time.